right. So I am excited, as I always am, to have the opportunity to not just speak with everybody who's on the call, but also have the opportunity to speak to just our overall collective community. And I do want to kick off this conversation just really quickly of how I feel so much joy and happiness that I get to do this. And for those of you who are in the program, that are members, that we talk quite a bit and we share, and you guys know that this is not just something that is a daily task for me. This is something that I genuinely love, and I feel that there's a deep, rich connection that happens. That's why the community exists. And when I've seen over the last several weeks, guys, the amount of people pouring into the community, and I mean, we're approaching 300 people, and that is just overwhelming. And I get to have moments where Wendy and I had a great conversation the other day, and Pete, and everybody. I could list 20 some odd names from last week that really touched my heart. And I just want to tell everybody again how much I appreciate you guys, and that we couldn't all do this if everybody wasn't coming together collectively and being a part of this. And that means a lot to me. So in that same vein, as I was writing and putting together this really the series that we've been working on through Mindset, they all kind of flow into each other. And so I'm going to reiterate a couple points from, say, the last 2 weeks, if not 3, inside of this piece. But it's really about understanding the hard work about what quiet progress looks like. And when we get into the holiday season, a lot of people bail out of the community, and they bail out, or I shouldn't say community, I mean the job seeker world. And I'm going to give you some statistics to encourage you not to do that. This is a very important time of the year where you can lean in, and you can become, even though you're acting quietly through consistency, you can become the loudest individual in the room. And I'm going to show you just exactly how we can do that. So the theme is quiet progress. And that's because this time of the year is an overlooked window of opportunity. The last 6 to 8 weeks of every single year is some of the most important time for a job seeker. And that's because most job seekers leave the market, right? And they leave the market for many reasons. They're deciding to go spend time with family. They're deciding that they're going to go travel. Life is happening. Maybe they're just disgruntled at this point. They're upset. They're hurting. They're in pain. And they're just like, I just need to go. I need to get away from this. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you feel that way, please step into our Mindset channel. Have conversations with us collectively as a group. Michael's doing a great job in there and sharing, and hope everybody can do that. Because if you're feeling that way, 9 times out of 10 in the community, you need to talk to somebody who's going through that too. Right. And we have some great people who can lean into that space with you, and not just, it's not about just commiserating and having that. No, it's about really picking each other up and building momentum for each other. And that's what this community is all about. But this is about those individuals who feel pushed and driven right now to lean into this time. And that's because statistically, and I love LinkedIn's study they did last year around this, and it's really around global trends. So it's not just even the United States, but all of Western world economies when they looked at this. And it said that 61% of recruiters began lining up their Q1 targets and hires in November and December. So now we know that, the overall half of recruiters are leaning into this space. Now, we could also lean on Tina, and she could tell you the exact same thing. She's been doing this forever, right? And she'll tell you that's what she does. She racks and stacks this time of the year. She fills in the cracks where she can, but ultimately she's moving towards that next segment of the year. So then you go, well, wait a minute here. That's great, Stephen, but then if I'm not going to get a job to the holidays, why would I put in that effort? Here's the reason why. In a ZipRecruiter study, now this was in 2023, but I found a very similar study that showed actually an increase in percentage, but the richness of the ZipRecruiter study was the one that I fell in love with. So it's from 2023, but it found that job seekers who stayed active during the holidays were 30% more likely to not just get interviews in January, but to have a chance of being hired in January. So now we have 61% who are seeking you out, and then we have a 30% chance of increase because we laid in the work, we put in all that quiet progress during the holiday season, and now you increase your percentage chances. And the last one I think is what I thought was the most encompassing of kind of putting the idea together to not just have you lean into this, but to understand why the mindset here around this period of time is so important. Is Glassdoor did a study in 2025 that showed that overall job postings drop 20% in December, but the responsive rates of those recruiters in the space of December go up by 37%. So if we know for a fact that the recruiters are stacking at a 61% clip for January, If we also know that increases your chances of landing that job inside of January by 30%, and then we also have a good understanding that the overall amount of recruiters responding to you go up by 37% inside of December, because everyone else is kind of moving out of the market, then it really shows that you laying those foundational moments are so important, not just for your strategy, but also for you to start building in that quiet progress. And the quiet progress is a system. And everybody who knows me knows I love systems. Systems are so important. And as a job seeker, it's inevitably, it's not just the most important thing that you could do, but it is guaranteeing you that when you have consistency and you build a foundation for yourself, it will not just serve you as a job seeker right now, but it will serve you for your first 90 days and everything else that you do as a new employee back into this company. The important thing for a job seeker to understand is we don't want to just teach you how to find the right job. We want to give you core foundational principles that you can then take forward so you'll be productive for the rest of your life, no matter what it is. A job is just a vessel to get you to where you want to be, but we can all show up differently and have the right mindset for the rest of our lives, particularly when we go through moments of suffering like a job loss. So in this case, that's what we want to talk about. So what does quiet progress look like as a job seeker when it comes to systematic daily disciplines? And I know I normally love things in threes, but I'm going to break a little bit of my own rule, and I'm going to talk to you guys really about 5 different things that are extremely important from a systematic discipline. Okay, 1, morning routine. We've talked a lot about this, but morning routine is a big one. Second one is your outreach discipline. There's a difference between, say, strategic networking like we teach inside of the workshops. Outreach discipline is separate. There is a strategic networking component. So we've got morning routine, outreach discipline, and strategic networking. Those are the first 3. And then we also, of course, have to think about how we're skilling ourselves up and utilizing tools. Okay. And then the final one is really the reevaluation of the system. Now, when I think through all 5 of these, you'll see, again, they very much match what we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. That's the reason why I said this is so important. We reiterate back that if you haven't seen some of our mindset conversations, go back and listen, because there's some really good content that you'll see there that'll help you kind of build out this principle of the right mindset. And the reason why the morning routine is so important is because we obviously know that from a chemical space, it's great for our minds. But as a job seeker, when we are in those moments of losing that job and not having the routine that we typically have, the first moment that we go through is that feeling of loss, where we don't have a call to be on. We don't have colleagues to call. Right? It's 11 a.m. and all of a sudden we're going, well, what do I do today? Like, what's going? That's where the routine comes in. So we teach, of course, the 9 to 3 structure, right? And it's a wonderful build out inside of our Kajabi library. If you want to go take a look at that, that's a great document to help you kind of establish yourself and build that out. But I'm going to speak to something even more important. I'm going to go before the 9. Okay, and this is where the mindset comes in that I think is really important. We can all structurally build out something that we're going to do as work, and we can fill that void that we have, and then build towards those proper disciplines. But I'm going to push you for a mindset conversation, and that is, what are you doing, right, in the quiet time? What does that 30 minutes look like for your morning? And if you have kids, don't have kids, if you have a dog, you don't have a dog, what does that moment look like before everybody else maybe gets up? Before all the routines start to happen anyway, before life really happens, what are you doing mentally to prepare yourself? And if you haven't taken a moment to have a creative release, I encourage you to do that. Whether you want to write, whether you want to just pray, meditate, do something in 30 minutes that give you that separation. And if you want a teaching of discipline there, then I will be more than happy to share reflection, discovery, and execution. That's taught in all of our workshops. Anytime we do a one-on-one, we go from that place. So that is a place that I'd highly recommend you learn that moment. That 30 minutes will really set you up. And the reason why is because that allows you then to do projection, and projection allows you to see your whole day. If you do that very well, then your outreach disciplines become much more clear. Your strategic networking becomes obviously more digestible, and it gives you very much clarity inside of why you're doing that and how you're doing that. It helps you build your value creation conversations and thoughts. It sets you up for your interviews once you start to land those, right? But it also gives you clarity on what your skill up training and what tools are really being utilized and why you're using them. It makes your day just overall more productive. So that's where the morning routine before the 9 o'clock becomes so important. Now, the outreach discipline is setting yourself up for success in the way that you want to put one thing together after another. Let me give you just a quick understanding. One of the things that we're going to transition in for our networking course this week, for those of you who want to join that workshop for our members, I'm going to alter that slightly based on some of the holiday conversations. So we're going to do a little bit different of a spin on this. So what I would love for everybody to understand, whether you're on this call and hopefully you can join us for the networking call on Wednesday, is the concept of how do you take advantage of holiday messaging? And that is a big deal. Like whether it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, it doesn't matter. How do you take advantage of some of that messaging, knowing that someone's going to be out of the office, knowing that their minds are starting to drift? Maybe think about there's just such a human way to utilize this time space as a job seeker to not just have the opportunity to be that January candidate, but to open up the doors to have real genuine conversation. And it becomes much more human. It becomes much more natural. And if you do that well, I would love to think that all of our individuals that are participating and that work on this would really have they would see that 37% skyrocket of that outreach, because we can do that messaging slightly differently, right? We can talk about and be human about whether or not that individual recruiter, hey, I know you might be stepping out. I know you might have this hiring managers, networking events. Hey, where are you going for all these? All that small talk can move and shift very powerfully into something genuine and real, right? The other big piece of this that I think is so important is understanding then how you strategically network based on holiday events. How do you utilize some of those points? What are you doing when it moved from a coffee chat to maybe something more of a holiday style setup, right? How can that sound differently? Do you make small tweaks to make yourself stand out and be a little bit more intriguing, a little bit more interesting during this period of time? Yes, of course, you can make those adjustments. And so when we're thinking about using the tools and like Job Sniper, or even utilizing, say, Seemingly and their ability to create video interviews and things like that, no matter what the tool is, it's really about how you are making it more authentic to your time period. So the mindset shift here is to embrace the holidays and embrace the opportunity. When everybody else is becoming too busy to be focused, you can lean in and really target and take that quiet progress and lay a foundation for yourself that's going to set you up for, who knows, maybe land a little holiday surprise and get a job beforehand. But at the bare minimum, you'll be the first one that they'll be thinking about coming out of the holidays. It also makes all of your post-holiday outreach much cleaner. If you already know their name, a little bit about them, where they went, it's a much more personable outreach on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of January. You're not just sending those 3, 6, 9 messages that we build out. You're sending those things with intention. You're sending those, oh, I hope your trip to the mountains was great. Oh, I know you were going to go see your parents. I hope that worked out for you. The messaging becomes real and authentic. And whether you're using any of those tools to help streamline some different things, like for instance, using Job Sniper to get some of those to clean out and increase that 37% or not, when it comes to removing those sponsored jobs, it's really about them using it all together collectively to be successful. So I say all that to really design out momentum. A lot of people think momentum has to be loud. A lot of people think that everything that we do should be screaming from the mountaintops. And I think that's the exact opposite of where I'm wanting you all to lean. I want you to understand that real momentum comes from rhythm. That's the reason why we're talking about setting these pieces of your strategy up efficiently. We start with the right mindset of embracing the holidays. We start with the right mindset of understanding the value of what can possibly happen for you, but then we put all of the tracking elements inside of it. We put the journaling moments so that we know our 3 wins. We're consistent with those 3 wins. We practice gratitude and understanding the enjoyment that someone is going to give you time and the value that they must see in you to give you time during the holidays. We are putting this in a full circle understanding that as we not just target these companies because it's good for us selfishly, we're giving the respect back to all of them because we understand the value that we can create for them in January when we are hired. It's a full circle moment for us, and we have to understand that. When you think We covered this study actually through Harvard Business Review, but when you think about the true value of reflecting on your goals, right? We all know that we have a 48% higher motivation when we can see those wins happen. We also have a 31% faster re-employment rate when we actually are studying our processes and our systems. And that's Harvard Business Review. That's not my studies, right? And if we know that that's the case, then we should lean into those moments. We should understand the value and the mental strength that we can have by focusing in on all of our systems and our processes that make us great. So as I take a step back from me talking about all these things, and I want to lean to all of you, and I want you to really think about, whether you're listening to this live or whether, of course, you're listening to it through YouTube and the podcasting realm. What is the area of your job search right now that you feel like you are being quiet in? What's that consistency in that quiet? How can you take the noise level that's being reduced through the holidays, and what are you going to do, and how are you going to take advantage of that? What's it look like for your search? What is it that you need from a mindset perspective to allow you to be able to do this? The challenge that I want us all to just truly take these thoughts in and incorporate these is, how are you reverse engineering your December so that you can be effective in November? How are you re-engineering and reimagining what your January can look like by building that really strong presence in December? And also, how are you going to do this and take advantage of the fact, and I do mean take advantage of the fact, that you have the time. You have the time to spend time with family. You have the time to lean in and have genuine conversations, right? How are you going to take advantage of this holiday season differently because you get to, not because you have to? How do we shift that mindset to push it? Because each and every single one of us can do some pretty special things in this moment of time for others, but we also have to understand how important it is that we build our routines out so that we can be loud in January and land those jobs that are going to set you up, not just for success in the first 90 days. Like I said, let's make life-changing, systematic changes for our mindset, our routines, so that we're successful in the job, but we're successful with all things that we do after that. Okay. So I appreciate that, and I'm going to open it up. Obviously, you guys know that we love to be able to do some questions, some Q&A, and it does not have to just strictly be around mindset, guys. It can be really about anything that you would want to discuss. But I'm excited for the opportunity of what we have this week, and I want to open it up to all of you to be able to share. And if there's anything that I can help with, please do let me know.